Hello. Okay. So, here we are with recording session, and I'm testing things 1 2 1 2 with a screen recording for possible simulcast, which will be possible, I suppose. I have two cameras going on right now, and I'm doing a screen capture, so I'll try this, and I'm gonna explain what's going on. Um, the screens did dim as soon as I hit this capture, so I don't know that you can see this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the screen that I have on my G5, um, because what I've done right here is shared the screen on the G5 hard drive, which was broadcaster right here, which I enabled to share, and it's sharing at a high enough speed where this is like no problem. So a lot of this configuration has to do with um, networking and MIDI and clock. The one thing that most of the challenges have been overcome. The couple of things that were a little bit you get used to or are unique or not obvious are the monitoring, because there's no separate monitor system. So I come up with what I think is probably going to be the one that's going to work the best. So I have the G5 being fed back into channel 3 and 4, and the keyboard is being sent in through 5 and 6. And right now 5 and 6 is triggering it's triggering drum mic A, which you can probably see it here. It's actually on the second screen. I don't think you can see the top screen. So what I did was I just flipped my screens to a different, like two different screens, which is a quick swipe across with the MacBook Pro, and basically this is contact right here. And I got it. I had the monitor I have on top has a higher resolution, so it's much better like that. So I'm able to see it more now. I'll bring it down and I'll talk about it. This is drums from Germany with combination of with the microphones from Sennheiser and Neumann. And so basically, it's just it's a very careful recording. It's very large, very high resolution with many layers of sounds within each. It's like a three-dimensional kind of set of sounds. So that you have a great variety of from one hit to another, and all recorded for real. None of that. This is non-electronic sounds. So these drums right here, whoops, that's probably gonna be loud. Were I found I simply found a little preset, not that one. Actually, there was one with a tom. I think that was it. Now then I have the option to mixer. Now the mix is really off right now because what I've been doing is just lowering the sliders every time I'm doing a and so this is absolutely nothing. Whoops, it's gone. I need to turn this down. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You probably can't hear me. So the snares is what I want to get next, and I guess I can go ahead and do that, even though this is probably not the tone that I would go for, but since it's here. Now I have this over here is called an AU Lab hoster. So what it does is it hosts on its own, and you can have different instances of these, and they're just basically like slots. So I have like audio tracks, and then here is a sampler. I haven't used it yet. This is like part of the preset. Well, not like say, but this has an ability to store all kinds of different sounds, and I'm going to be getting to this, but not just yet. And over here I have the contact, which I'm just showing you over here, and it's where it's playing. This is where it's sound now. And here I have the ability to record. Now, what's nice about this setup is I have access to all of my plugins, and you know their favorite ones like Ambience is fantastic. Like you know, I mean, it's doesn't even have a skin. It's just basic, you know. But this is like an open source, and this is the kind of piece of software that you would put inside hardware, you know. I don't know. It's doing something. Oh my god! I hope it's not messing up. Woo! That's no good. Okay. Anyway, I don't know what I just did, but generic view. Oh my god. I guess. Anyway, I had managed to mess this up, so we're gonna go with that back there, and get that out of the way. Oh no, I guess it just Ambience is still here, but I guess it just confused. I know we lost it. Anyway. But there's been a lot of that. There's been a lot of like getting these little things right. But so what we have here is which is are muted because otherwise I'm using this for the screen recording. But here's would be my vocal and then a bass and then keyboards. I'm not able to run these together at the moment, and it's only because of the way the keyboard, the way that my small mixer is. Now the small mixer is primarily going to be kind of like a laptop type interface, which would be portable, which all this fits in a backpack. So it's basically like a 2-track recorder. 6-channel input, configurable in many ways, so it's able to be a great you know, on the table next to the ones and twos, you know, kind of a thing. It's a perfect little mixer, you know, for that for sure. And again, I've been hyping the quality of the inputs and the preamps and the levels of the outputs as well. Absolutely zero distortion. I could perceive pushing these things way, like nowhere near its maximum, and the weak part of this operation here is the speakers. I mean, they can blow these speakers right out easily. So I do able to get it into a nominal situation, and then when I do the nominal, what I mean by that is when I put things to zero, and then the both the computer, the G5 up here, and let me go get the G5. I'm really enjoying this machine. This is a really good machine. It was the I know I have to do it like this if I'm going to control it. It has a really good a converter built in. It has a hardware converter, which was an M Audio 24-bit, and this thing here, when my own machine is running through the FireWire buses and the USB buses through its levels and so on. These are like in voltages. Like nominal would be, let's say, 1 volt ideal. If you were to take a 1 pure volt, and then put it through to all different frequencies, and then consider that to be your 0. But our ears don't work like that, and the physics of everything involved don't work like that. So, but what that it does is, for the technical aspect, it makes sure that the equipment can handle those levels at all levels when everything is at 0. So if you calibrate it that way, and you just make sure that none of those frequencies vibrate anything to death or kill your hearing, well, then your system is somewhat balanced. And then you could use your little fancy little microphones and whatever, which I don't use anyway. So where was I? Yes, so I am able to get a very high signal and clear signal with a tremendous amount of headroom. Let me see. There's the vocal. Let's take a look at the vocal track here. I just have to get to the scroll bars because. All right, here we go. Now these vocals are not at all pinned, and this output was actually the CD 16-bit output master that I did. I didn't turn it down because what I ended up wanting to do is actually feed the converters on the G5, you know, at a strong level, so that they can, you know, really like do their job and actually provide dynamic range. Because the whole point behind you know, this dynamic range is from the quietest to the loudest. So I'm not, there's no perceived noise inside, so the entire recording system is not flickering at all at 122, or I mean at 144 decibels, which is an incredibly high thing, a very high rate. But anyway, as you can see, the file is not very large. And then if we go and look at the equivalent one on Digital Performer, which where is, oh, here it is. No, I've lost it, I think. Oh, here it is. It was hiding. All this is running on this laptop. It's incredible. And it's not even hard. Okay, so basically, I'm taking the individual tracks from this recording session, which was done a few months ago, and this was the vocals right here, track, and you can see like they're thicker, you know, and this is this is not the amplified as well, because when it goes through the mix board, the vocals themselves get quite the treatment. They go through CLA vocal, which, you know, and so they go through this device, which is just a preset, or no, actually it's not using that. We're not using that. I didn't think we were using that for her. What are we using for, oh dear? Oh, okay, here we go. So we're using a CLA. Now this is kind of a frequency compressor dynamic equalizer. Now this particular range, between these areas right here is the kind of the permitted frequency range that really snaps down on the voice. So there's different ways. So we're gonna kind of quiet that down a bit too there.
Side noise, I need peace of mind. I can't say I am blind, my happiness should come from inside. I can't seem to find it.
All right, so
I can feel it, it's so close, just beneath the surface of my
anyway,
skin, beneath my chest.
The computer is lagging right now. It's suffering because of the extra added load of recording this as well. But I'm gonna just stop right now because I find it gets too buggy, and I could lose sync and stuff if I start playing it with the recording. So it's not quite strong enough for that. If I had another machine, I would dedicate it to those kinds of things, and then I could consider online streaming, and people can just, I don't know, I can put up an address, and I don't care if anybody watches or not, as long as I got my pants on. All right. So there's I think that's about it. I just kind of wanted to, this was more about the remembering what was going on. Oh yes, the loops. Okay, this is the other thing I wanted to mention here. So Livid Looper is this thing that's new. I'm really enjoying. I'm just trying to see if I can find the see, Digital Performer is taking up a lot of space here. Let's just hide that. And then this is taking up a lot of space here too, which is normal. I have them spread out on different screens. And here, I'm really enjoying this program right here. This is a another one of those made for kind of hardware programs that has the loops and banks of 8. And what I did is I used two of them. I think these two right here, and put patterns that I thought would fit. And so I took the same rhythm, the MIDI clock, and oh no, I don't put it in crashes. Okay, anyway, and I have it through AIC bus 1, and then I put start, and then I have this MIDI clock going, and what it does is it synchronizes with the looper. When I go to the module and put the MIDI sync, and it's on. Okay, that's good. So this thing is working, and that's good. There's been, you know, a lot of time and effort put into making this work. Um, so now all of the software is set to 110. However, the they're not able to synchronize with between the G5 and the Power Mac yet. There's another protocol called OSC, which this thing supports, and the OSC on this is through IP. So let me look and see if I can find the so OSC configure. Now this is a very, very powerful protocol. So what it is point-to-point kind of tunneling through port, dedicated connections that just do with client servers. Now this is a very high-speed proprietary raw transfer that's kind of based on a lot of the similarities with MIDI. So MIDI is kind of like this, I suppose, would be kind of the next step up, and it has its applications and all kinds of things that are associating themselves with this, like the new. I mean, I don't know. This is an open source, so it could be that Motu has taken this technology and turned it into its networking AVP line, which I find is going to be incredible. So you're looking into 3D type mixing at this point. So this means that this particular device, it could be inside a controller, and if we look at, there's a controller right here. Somewhere, there it is. Okay, and I know I had it set up, but I don't think it is set up right now because I'll just see. Oh yeah, okay. So it just rudely set up, and anyway. So that's not the one I picked for. So the one I'm doing right now for Jen is this one right here. And again, these are loud. I realize that. And then this one here as well. It's important to sync right now. They're not in sync right now. They fell off of sync. So yeah, something is off. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. This was the actual beat that I ended up using, and it was just basically by. So this is what I pulled out of of this right here. This is far too complex to turn around and make a stage instrument out of it. This is retarded. This thing is contact player. It's just so vast, incredible. I mean, it's a great create whatever. This is the free player. So what I'm able to get with this particular software is it's a free. I don't have to worry about paying for it or whatever. And which is one of the things that the issues I have about like paying like a lot of money for software that is onto its own, like it doesn't really share very well, is that a few months later, you just don't end up using it, and it's just like a waste. Like, so you kind of want to have like lifelong stuff. Like the Motu is like something I pay for and keep fresh, and then I try to operate on these open source as much as possible. Like I wouldn't want to pay $149 for this because I might not even use it. But its ability to all these libraries that are out there that are made by other people who are passionate about it, that come up with, like, this is what Scheinheiser did themselves. This is very ambitious, and this is not the only kind of thing out there. I found all kinds of drum sounds. There's just everything on the planet. So it gives you the ability to mix the individual drums as if they were like, real. In this case, a real instrument, because this is what I wanted. Right? We wanted a jazz kind of a sound, and then you just save the presets, and then I have it like that. So the idea is to put those kinds of sounds onto loopers like this, and then have it play. And then and then take the output of the PV, because this is going through the PV6, and then the headphone output, because it was kind of available, and it shares the same as output as the amplifier. So the amplifier is turned down and it's going in direct. Also, there's no preamps in there, so there's no coloration. There's exactly a wire right into the preamp. I mean, there's the power amp. The power amp is turned down, attenuated to match the the levels of the speakers, and not too much. And so when I put the two together, they end up being the same level. And on the G5 it is. The level itself, I have a tremendous amount of headroom. I have much more headroom, so I can push it really hard. I can't see any piece of equipment distorting this thing, and its bandwidth is phenomenal, because it's tied directly to the motherboard. So it's a card with a breakout box type machine, and the computer itself is 10 years old, and it's dead. It was pretty much at the end of the line of the G5 Apple production equipment, and this stuff probably did most of the music in the 2000s. Like, the majority of the music you hear was made with a machine like this, with this kind of program. But anyway, so now what I've done with that is taken the output and then turn these into the loops. So let's just go and
In my heart.
I'm just gonna go back to my setup the way I had it there, and okay, this doesn't really work while I was doing it. Okay, so, and we were back to where we started. So I think this was enough of a tour to remind me of for the settings. I can put it on YouTube, and if somebody's interested, I can give them a link if they want to see how this works and how I kind of got it set up. So that's what basically creating. No, this is like would be drums being fed into the looper that's then being recorded into Digital Performer, taking a pre-production or a pre-production song, like a first attempt with Jen Robert, and with this we used Digital Performer heavily, a lot of tremendous amount of editing and all kinds of fancy work, and this is the kind of the writing process kind of makes this kind of thing happen, like, because you try something and you like it and you just duplicate it, and it ends up becoming messy. But this is where the creative this is very creative at this point. And what's important here is to blend the sounds and to make sure that they all stay in on the grid. So things like having quantizing is important. This keeps the files organized so that they don't move around and then they snap, so that the hits are in the same place. There is an art to this. This is one of these kinds of things where you don't want them to be perfect. You want them to be slightly off, but you don't want them to be like off. But perfect is too mechanical, and so there are actual parameter adjustments to widen these things and to put variety on the tempo. But overall, it ends up being pretty much perfect. So because this is becoming messy now, this can turn into the mix itself and mastered and done deal. But I'm finding that going through this process, looping the drums and then recording the loops allows a musician to play the loops themselves, and they wouldn't be necessarily playing the track. And so later on, it could be a button press machine, or it could be a sequence itself. But the artist and the band members will have bits of this recording in a forms of loops within the and synchronize amongst themselves, and then they can work it out, and do whatever they want with it. I mean, and so that's the main purpose with kind of feeding the instrument that they would use, and then using that instrument to record with the real thing. Um, and then we get back into to more of a mix and master without having to do drastic edits and all kinds of heavy plugins, and we can try and keep the sound as pure as possible, because on the way out and back in, especially with a level and format change this drastic, there's no harm in slamming in a little process here and there, and you don't want to or equalize, and just you're listening. I'm listening to it again for a number of times, and you listen to it by itself, so you can get intimate with the track, and then give it a little bit of a slight character, and make it fit with something else. I mean, you got to remember to consider the tones, to blend with other things, and so you shouldn't have too boomy. Like I almost kind of you need like a boomy instrument, otherwise it'll sound kind of dead or 90s. So like you can take it, like let's say if the acoustic guitar is booming, which is what I more or less did here, but not the voice, because if you put you can put a boomy voice or a low frequency voice for that kind of that certain kind of a sound, which is very pleasant. But if you do that, then you want to put a you don't want the two to conflict, and especially like bass guitar and drums and all these things, they all kind of occupy their little space, and so but a lot of the art is to blending them, and having the like I guess like cooking or chemistry, all the parts together end up becoming something greater than the individual parts. And then you kind of keep that as a goal, and when you achieve that within a couple of tracks, or if when they sound better together than apart, well then you're on to something, and then you keep that. But you don't marry yourself to it. You obviously, if it, things can change, and then you need to change, but whatever, you got to keep an open mind with all that. So yeah, and then so basically we're just going to continue with this. I'm about halfway done. Rebuild the song, and then get Jen involved. I also have the Skype, and I have Skype and Facebook here also plugged in with two cameras, and everything is actually working, and nothing is panicking, nothing is crashing, everything is stable, nothing is CPUs are all running quiet. Imagine with all that stuff going on, and there's zero conflicts. So we do have this thing going. I got more hardware and software that I can add to this as we build. I'm going to be dealing with some stage components to this system. Like a stage component will be running a dedicated piece of software. I haven't decided yet. We have a couple of options. We can go through the waves with the guitar solo on its own, and then it would feed itself into its own channel, so it wouldn't be interfering with anything at all, and it could run on any computer. It doesn't have to be on. It could run on a central server, but within a band, a person can have their own little personal. Um, Instrument part is on their machine, and then the actual blood and guts is somewhere else, and that's the whole point with OSC and time code, and that's going to be the next thing to do, and that makes everything very, very current and very efficient, very slick. A member of the band anywhere around the world can instantly receive or listen to a high quality playback if they're connected with a high enough speed. The lags and all those kinds of things are all resolved internally, so I don't know, it wouldn't be good enough necessarily to perform, or maybe it would be, but it's certainly good enough for creating and sharing and making good work and the kind of work that would be a finished product within its own sessions, and not have to rely on expensive situations and shady deals in order to to get an opportunity. So this is all it's all about creativity and really about nothing else. So that's it. Have a good night, everybody, and peace out.